Guten Tag all, once again, the doctor is in the house. Back for another one of those block rockin' beats. And before we get started, let's just kick back and crack open a nice cold can of something, because it has been a long ass day and I'm sure we all need a bit of a chill. So yeah. Sugar free. Don't worry. So today's podcast brought to you by Red Bull. Sponsor. Yeah, I wish. So how you all doing? I hope your week is still going good. I've just come back from a wedding today. So it's been a long day. My partner's brother was actually getting hitched. So yeah, congrats to them. If they actually watch this, I've just got home then, so I'm just sort of unwinding now. It's been a long week as well. I know I said I had the week off, but most of it's been working at home, getting ready for moving. We've had a lot of renovation stuff that was going on. Some of it's now going to have to get redone, as it turns out. Some of it was measured incorrectly. Nothing that I've done, but it is something we're going to have to fix eventually, because that's just how it is. At this point, I have probably edited in a itty bitty video I took today of the Camry itself, the lovely, wonderful machine that we do this from. So, little background on the Camry. It's a 1999 model. It is not the V6. Unfortunately, I haven't got the big banger. It's just a little 2.2 automatic. Unfortunately, you would not believe how hard it is to find a manual version of one of these now. As you can see, I haven't done too much to it. Tried to JDM it a little bit. I had a lot of fun mucking around with shitty cars as a kid. I think we all did. So I just kind of wanted to bring a little bit of that back. So I've put some chrome rims. Well, chrome rims. I put chrome sort of lips on the steel rims. I've always liked the black wheel with a chrome look. So I had it on an old Falcon of mine as well, and I had a lot of fun with it. So I kind of wanted to recreate that. I put a little samurai sticker on the window as well for, the full Japanese experience. Yes, and all that sort of stuff. She's a good car. I've had a lot of fun with it over the years. I never thought that a Camry would be such a great car, and I've become quite attached to it. My partner keeps saying that down the track, we won't be driving this, we'll be driving something else by the time this happens or that happens. And I'm like, are we though? I mean, I'm one of those people that doesn't want to replace something until it breaks. Like, why get rid of something if it's not broken? And at the moment, it's not broken. Like, it's got the usual wear and tear from over the years. It's actually getting some new shock absorbers put in on Monday. I'm getting it booked in at my work, as a matter of fact, to get that done. It got serviced recently. It's up for another big service soon. So we'll see how that goes. I forgot what I was about to say, actually, talking about the car. If today's episode's a bit off, I apologize in advance. I have been really tired this week. I don't know what's up. My energy levels just crashed massively. I haven't really done anything different with the diet. I'm still sticking to everything that I should. Yeah, the levels just haven't been there, and I think I'm just worn out. We had a busy start to the year. Everyone was really worn out. It was carrying over from last year, and we all know how much of a shit fight last year was. So I tried to take a week off to feel a bit better, because I know we've got a lot coming up, and not just at work, but with me personally, with moving and everything. So to take a break from work and then spend most of the week working, it's put a lot of strain on me and everyone else. I only really had one free day this week, and that was the day that I went and did everything for the car, which was good. I did something for myself for a while, which was good. And that's one thing you have to remember. You always have to make sure you take time for yourself. We're always very busy. Adulting is hard. Adulting sucks most of the time. But it's always important to keep time for yourself, because without you, none of this happens. There is no world without you. So if you need time for you, take it, stuff what everyone else thinks, stuff what everyone else says. You just need to go with your heart, go with your brain, fuck them. Because they may lose you for an hour or two wherever you are, whether it's at work or your friends. They might lose you for a day or so while you do what you want to do, while you want to just recover. But it's better than losing you for longer, if not permanently. And that's what you need to remember. And that's what other people need to remember as well. We aren't machines. We aren't invincible. We need to look after each other, and we need to look after ourselves. It starts with you, and it sort of builds from there. So regarding the car, every car has a name. This one has more of a nickname than an actual proper name. I called it the Grey Nurse, which is actually a breed of shark, believe it or not. A very gentle breed of shark, hence the name. I mainly did that because of the age of the car. I felt Grey Nurse sounds like the sort of an old name for a car. Originally, I thought the car was silver, which is why I went with the Grey Nurse. It wasn't until later that I realised it's actually sort of a metallic-y, greeny silver, but the name stuck. And if you're wondering why Grey Nurse, not just because it's named after a shark, because everyone knows, Camrys are also, one of the biggest apex predators in their environment on the road. We're chopping smart cars, not stock Honda Civics, bicycles, all that sort of thing. We're well up the food chain. This is the part where I put a /S for sarcasm, just in case that wasn't obvious by now. But one of the reasons, and one of the biggest reasons I called it Grey Nurse, was because it was actually the name of an aircraft flown by Australia's most successful fighter pilot during World War II, a chap by the name of Clive Caldwell. The press nicknamed him Killer Caldwell, which was actually a nickname he despised. He didn't like the Killer nickname. But yes, Clive Caldwell was the most successful fighter pilot during World War II for Australia. He flew both in Europe and in the Pacific. In the Pacific, he flew a Spitfire. Now, everyone knows the Spitfire. It was a tropical built version. And yeah, it had a massive shark mouth down the side of it with the name Grey Nurse. It's actually one of the most popular I wouldn't say replicas, but it's one of the most popular designs for Spitfires. You see a lot of them in games and at air shows and things like that. I do believe there is actually a flying version in real life of it still. I don't know if it is the actual Grey Nurse Spitfire, but there is a Spitfire out there with his paint job on it, running the traditional green and grey that the RAAF had. Big shark mouth, red propeller hub. And Clive Caldwell, obviously one of my biggest heroes. Coming from Australia, it was great to come across his story, being the most successful man in one of the greatest wars in history, having defeated both German and Japanese pilots. Entered the war as a squadron leader, very well decorated, not recognised enough, I think. Barely anyone outside of the military knows of him. But we'll go into that further down the track, because I also, in other episodes, I want to be informative. I don't want this just to be the ramblings of some 30s ginger kid from Australia. I want to be able to educate you guys a bit and tell you about some things. So in addition to touching on Australia's greatest ace, I'll eventually talk about the greatest ace of all time, who was actually from Germany, and just the aces of other things as well. So, we'll look forward to that down the track, but that's the story intermined with everything else. That's the story of my car, and why it's called that, and why I'm just so attached to it. It's a good car. I've had a lot of fun with it. I've only had it for a couple of years so far, so it's had some fun adventures. We've gone to a lot of air museums, a lot of holidays, a lot of Ks, and it's a comfortable car. The aircon works perfectly. In fact, it's working right now. I always have the aircon on when I do these, because everyone knows a car is a effing sauna when you're just sitting there chilling, like people walk past and go, why is this guy just randomly sitting in his car for half an hour or however long it is? So there is that. Not too much going on this week. It's been a lot quieter, which is good but suspicious at the same time. I'm one of those people that's like, when things are going good, there's something underlying. I mean, in saying that, I know work's been stressful this week for everyone. I had to go see them on Thursday, because I went to pick up some parts for my car. As I said, I'm going to get fixed next week. Everyone was really stressed out. Unfortunately, the day after that, the Friday, they were going to be short-handed. They actually wanted me to come back a day early, and unfortunately, I already had some renovations to do at the house on that Friday. My soon-to-be father-in-law had taken the day off specially for it, so I was like, I can't really do this. But all Friday, I was sitting there going, oh man, I really hope everything's okay. I hope everyone's all right. I was going to message my boss and just be like, hey, at the end of the day, and be like, hey, how did everything go? Is everyone all right? But I was like, I'm sure the last thing they want is to hear from me. I was worried that, I don't know, I just thought something had happened. I mean, it's never a good sign when you ask them, oh, how are things going? And they literally go, ha, don't even ask. I was like, I'm just going to go. Yeah, see ya. Sort of thing. So here we are in 2021. A lot of things happening this year. Obviously, later in the year, you've got 9/11's 20th anniversary. Prepare to feel old. I found out the other day that a lot of the historical societies count anything 20 years and older as being a part of history rather than recent events, which now officially makes 9/11 history, which was a bit of an eye-opener for me. Like, I'm Australian. It didn't affect us anywhere near as much as the States, but it was a shock around the world. Like, I plan to do a proper talk about it when it gets closer to the date later in the year. But yeah, like, we'd seen bombings, we'd seen attacks on things, but like everyone else, we were shocked that something like that could happen. We thought it was impossible. We thought it was just never going to happen, and it's hard for you to think that now, especially growing up in an era where it's been parodied a lot of times. You've seen people try to do it in video games for so long, I read a lot about like kamikaze pilots and that as a part of all my military reading growing up. So the idea of crashing a plane into something else voluntarily wasn't completely abstract to me, but for it to happen on the scale it did, I was like, wow, holy shit. Like, yeah. I mean, as I said, we'll go into it as it gets closer to the day, but so that's a thing now, 9/11's officially part of history. Getting a bit nostalgic, Need for Speed Underground. This year is officially legal age. It is 18 this year. I remember when that first came out, and I remember seeing the screenshots for it. We all thought this was some massive game changer. We were like, wow, Another thing that came out that year, another thing that turns legal age, I suppose, is Medal of Honor Rising Sun. It got mixed reviews, and I'll admit, playing it back later in life, it was a bit silly, but I still had a lot of fun with it. I know it was not one of the more critically acclaimed Medal of Honor games, but we had a lot of fun with it. My friends and I, we'd always set up a split screen and just play against the bots. I think one of our favorite things to do was just set up a match of us two against bots and have them all with rocket launchers. And there were actually levels of AI you could pick, and we would purposely pick the dumbest AIs because they wouldn't even wait till they were around the corner before they fired. They'd try and just straight up shoot you through a wall with a bazooka. And the team kills were just insane. Like, it would always end up with us having like several hundred kills, and they'd be like minus something because they'd end up team killing each other as well, which was just hilarious. Personally, as fun as Rising Sun was, I loved Pacific Assault, which was the game that came in the series after that in 2004. So that's 17 this year. That one was a lot more fleshed out. It was PC only. Granted, the consoles were a lot more limited back then. So Rising Sun was, I guess, our version of Pacific Assault. But Pacific Assault was a lot more fleshed out. And it was a lot more fun. I suppose any gamer out there who knows what I'm talking about knows what I mean. Speaking of legal age games, Battlefield, the original Battlefield 1942, became 18 years old last year. Completely missed it. The number of hours we sunk into that game, even now, through mods like Desert Combat. Desert Combat came out in 2004. And it turned, for those who don't know, it turned a World War II shooter into a Gulf War scenario where you had the Americans and the Iraqis, and you had modern equipment as well. And it brought a lot of stuff to the game, and Desert Combat was a big thing. If I remember correctly, some of the guys that made that mod actually got hired to help with Battlefield 2, which came out in, I think it was 2005 or 2006. Which was more modern related, except the Iraqis weren't Iraqis; they were the Middle East coalition. Like it was weird. Like they name America and they name China straight up in that game, but they can't mention a particular game or particular country in the Middle East, which was a bit odd. But yeah, another game that turned 17 this year is Need for Speed Underground 2. Which is one of my all-time favorite games, and one of the games that I've been screaming for a remaster for a very long time. I mean, if you know, you know. Like, I know a lot of you out there probably played Underground 2 to death. And to be fair, the only reason I don't go back and play a lot of these old games is my eyesight isn't what it used to be. I don't know if it's because my eyes have adjusted to newer graphics or what, but the older pixelated stuff, my eyes just go bleh. I get a massive headache now from it. It's terrible. That's why I stopped playing my PS1 games too, which sucks, because I've still got the original Medal of Honor that came out in 1999, and I've got Medal of Honor Underground, which came out about 2 years after that, or might even only been 1 year after that. Excuse me. So there was that, and I've got Gran Turismo 2 as well. So that was good. Of course, GTA San Andreas. That is 17 this year as well. If it was going off the old high school thing here in Australia, it would be graduating this year along with Underground 2. And everyone knows how big a deal San Andreas was. So just in general, you know, let's talk about nostalgia for a bit, you know, while we're bringing up game anniversaries and things like that. I get very nostalgic. I think a lot about when I was growing up and how different things might have been. Especially going through high school as well. I think about I think about everyone from high school still, and I still hope they're doing all good. There were a lot of characters back then, you know. A lot of things I could have done better. A lot of things other people could have done better. A lot of shit I regret, but I guess everyone regrets it. But, you know, part of you likes to dream. Part of you likes to sit back and think, what if I'd done this differently? What if I treated this person differently? What if I'd, you know, what if I'd realized what I had and held onto it harder, basically? You know, that's one thing that I think back on a lot. Not necessarily just with the people in high school, but in general. Like, I think back, why didn't I hang on to something harder? Why didn't I fight for it more? And there'll be episodes where I talk about that sort of thing, old jobs and stuff like that, where I was passionate about something and I just didn't work hard enough, you know. And I have a lot of past mistakes that I still think about, and I'm sure you all do, you know. I'm sure everyone does. So I mean, do you miss the old days that much? I know not everything was perfect back then, but there were times as kids where we didn't realize what we had. You know, we had the world before us, and all we wanted to do was throw rocks at it. But that's all growing up is, really. It's growing up is throwing rocks at shit you shouldn't throw rocks at, basically. And then you grow up and realize, I shouldn't have done that. Or sometimes you think, I should have done more of that. But I mean, I know you can't go back and change it, but I have long drives to work in particular, where my mind just wanders off thinking about things, thinking about every fork in the road that I've come to, every decision. Like, there are universes where I didn't break up with this person, or there are universes where I had the guts to ask this person out, or there's a universe where I didn't turn down this offer or this thing or that or anything like that. You'll probably notice, even by the channel name, I'm very big on military history, really big on it, and I intend to do a lot of videos on that. If you're new to the channel and you're sort of just tuning in, I hope you don't think it's just me doing podcasts like this. I do want to do proper content. I want to give you guys information. I want to teach you guys things. You know, some of the videos I do want to... Actually, no, we'll touch on that later. As I said, I'm big on military history. I had an uncle that was pretty much my father figure growing up. He unfortunately passed away back in 2002, which is still very bitter, very cold for me. But yeah, he taught me everything. He taught me everything I know, and I built on what he taught me, and I really was into it. And my history teacher in high school noticed that, and she was very big in putting me on the path to look at ways to use that. She suggested I look at joining the military as a teacher, a historian, or something like that, a tactician, maybe. And yeah, I'm very big on military stuff, and I did want to join. But one of the reasons was I failed the psychological part of it. It's been a very long time since it happened, of course. I've been out of high school well over 10 years, let's just put it that way. I mean, any of my old classmates watching will know how long it's been. But yeah, I had some psychological issues. I still do. But that put me off. Well, they turned me down because of that, and that put me off. And life happened. That's the easiest way to say it. Life happened. I had to go get a job. I stuck with that job way longer than I needed to. I didn't like the job, but I don't know. I was too busy with stuff at that time in my life. I was moving. I was entering a new stage in my life with relationships and things. My mother passed away back in 2010. There was a lot of stuff that just got in the way. And nowadays I'm just like, I'm not really in a position to look at doing it anymore. So I have a lot of friends who did serve or are serving, so around the world. I had a good group of people at our local RSL as well that I bonded with, thanks to my granddad's experience in the Royal Navy during World War II. Unfortunately, all of those guys are gone now. I think the year before, 2019. We got together every year, particularly after Granddad passed in 15, and we just swapped stories, and I'd talk to them about things, and they'd tell me about some of their stuff, and we'd do lunches and dawn ceremonies and all this sort of thing. And we had guys from everywhere. We had tank crews from Europe, we had Australian guys that had served here, we had RAN, like Royal Australian Navy, we had Royal Navy, we had some angry Scottish bastard from Bomber Command who had flown over Europe. There was one chap who served on the British Churchill tanks during World War II, and unfortunately his tank got hit by a German Panther during an engagement in France, and he was the driver, and the whole turret crew got eviscerated by a shell from a Panther tank, and one of his best mates was in that turret, and he basically had to hose him out of it, which messed me up to think about, you know. But they were so calm about it. It was weird. Bert was his name. He was a great guy, but 2019 was the year that no one was left. These guys were my brothers. We shared a lot. They were the only ones that really got my interest in history stuff. We would talk shit about Shermans versus Tiger tanks and Panthers versus other tanks, and whether they were better or they were just over-engineered, and the Navy guys would tell me stories. I know the old Scottish boy used to tell us stories about the bombing runs they had, getting attacked by night fighters, having to put these massive 4-engine planes into dives to put fires out or to avoid other things, and all this crazy stuff. And they were doing it at an age that I can't even imagine. Like, you had guys being squadron leaders in charge of like whole squadrons of planes before they were 25. I mean, when I was 25, I was still trying to get my life together. And I'd only just met my partner at the moment. That's what they did at the age they did is just incredible, And I'd love to talk about it in a later podcast if you want to hear that sort of thing, because my granddad had a treasure trove of stories. They did too, and I want people to understand what they did. I don't want them to just fade away into nothing. Like Anzac Day last year was, I suppose 19 was the first year that we couldn't do anything because the boys were gone. And 20 was with COVID and everything going on at the time, Anzac Day was pretty sedate anyway, but my partner and I went to an RSL memorial, which I'm going to be coming back to in a later video for reasons I will explain. And they have a lovely memorial garden there, and I just walked through there silently, thinking about everyone, everything. And part of me thinks that I was just born in the wrong generation. The amount that I know about World War II and the amount of interest I have in it just makes me think I should have been there with them. I wanted to be there with them. I'm sure a lot of you out there feel like your life doesn't have purpose. You feel like you haven't achieved much. Part of me thinks if I could have done that, if I could have been there and done that, maybe I could have achieved something. But my mind, unfortunately, has its messed up moments as it is. And from what I've talked to my current military friends about, you bring home a lot of shit that just makes it worse, So it's probably a good thing I never did, because I probably wouldn't be able to hold on to my partner like I have. I wouldn't be able to keep friendships like I have, I'm very self-destructive as it is, and part of me knows that would have just made it worse. So I live on vicariously in games instead. If I can't drive a real tank, I'll drive it in War Thunder, which is going good, by the way. Having some fun with it. I've unlocked a few tanks that I have as my favorites. I might do some videos on it later, down the track. I did have a funny moment yesterday where I tried to save a chap that had tipped over. I tried to tow him, but he was stuck on his side. Someone then shot him, and I basically was towing around a flaming chariot of steel, which actually made a good distraction. Everyone was shooting him and not me, until he despawned, and then I just got obliterated by everyone. So coming down the track, videos that I want to do, maybe some more videos about car stuff. I do try to get out to my local track when they have days there. People seemed to like the video I did of the McLaren Senna that was out there, the big orange thing that's in one of the videos on this channel, if you want to check that out. But yeah, military-wise, there is just up the road from us, about a half-hour drive, there is an RSL, the one I went to on Anzac Day, that has a German-built Leopard 1 tank, which served the Australian Army for quite a while in the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, and the very early 2000s. It's a tank that I'm very familiar with because of that, and it's German heritage that I'm quite proud of. So they've got this thing just on display. You can walk up to it, you can touch it, don't climb on it. Please, for the love of God, like if I have to explain to you the dangers of climbing over old rusted metal that's several decades old, you kind of deserve it. But yeah, I plan to do a walk around of that, show that off to you guys, just talk about that and give you a virtual tour. One other thing that may spark the interest of some is being in Brisbane, I'm very lucky to be near the museum they have here, which you can go and visit for free. And in the basement there, in a special air-conditioned room, they have a German tank from World War One. It's a Sturmpanzerwagen. The Sturmpanzerwagen A7V, which was Germany's World War One tank, essentially. And it's the only one left in the world. They didn't build a lot of them as it was, and there are reproductions left, but this is the only one left in the world. There is no other original ones. And I've seen this thing. I've been up to it many times, and you can still see the shell marks, the bullet creases, all the wear and tear from battle. It's even got the names of the men that captured it, I believe, carved into the front or the rear of it. So, crowds permitting, I would love to do a walk around of that and show that off to you. I know being the only one in the world, it may interest some people. So, yeah, I'm very keen on that. There's also a few air museums I'd love to do some talks on, show you around them. If anyone knows aircraft well, there's a museum about a half-hour drive up the coast from us that has a F-111 Aardvark, which is it's massive. Like, it's nothing compared to like a B-52, but these things are huge. And as you probably know, the RAAF also used those for several decades. I've actually got 2 models of them that I'm going to show off once they're unpacked at the new place. So we're looking forward to that. I'm very happy about that. So there's plenty of stuff in the pipeline to come. I don't want you to think that this channel's just about some old ginger dude rambling about his inner thoughts, But yeah, if you've stuck around for this episode, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm sorry if this episode's been a bit boring, and I'm sorry if it's rambled a bit. As I said, brain's a bit fried from this week. I have to go back to work on Monday, so we're just trying to get things sorted and organized. And yeah, I'm sorry if it's rambled on a lot, and I'm sorry if I've bored you at all. I plan to come back with some newer stuff next week. Got a lot going on. Actually, this part of the year, of course, motor racing's coming back. It's probably one of my favorite times of the year for motor racing, because I actually seem to enjoy it more than watching it, because this is when you get all the new paint jobs of cars, all the new designs, any new cars that have come out in the off seasons. This week I've actually been watching the Daytona 24-hour practice. So it's good to see all them there. One of the cars is actually running a paint job that was designed by a little kid. They had a competition to design a livery, and this kid literally just like scribbled like red and yellow and green and all this, and they actually went with it, which I thought was funny. It's a bit weird when you see some of the awesome designs that people do that was the winner, but yeah, sorry if I'm glancing over here, it's just because there's some random dude in a Porsche Cayenne driving up and down our street. You don't get Cayennes in this neighborhood. Well, not by legitimate purposes anyway. But yeah, no, I love this time of the year for motorsport. It's always exciting to see new drivers, new teams, new cars, new paint jobs. It gives you some not motivation, but it gives you some inspiration to do your own stuff in games and that. So that's fun. I've had a lot of fun watching that. The Daytona 24 is coming up in a week or two, so I'll be making sure to watch a bit of that. I know a lot of my car friends will. The Daytona 500 is coming up this year. 20 years since Dale Earnhardt Sr. passed away, last lap crash, which was very tragic. He was one of the few drivers I actually recognized growing up. I was still very young when he died, so I didn't fully understand it. But as I got older, I kind of understood why his death was such a big deal, and the number of safety innovations alone that came from that crash as well. I'm sure Dale would appreciate that his death wasn't in vain. It brought a lot of change in the sport in a good way, and a lot of people have had their lives saved by things that they have brought in as a result of what happened. Things like harness devices for your neck, better seat belts, all that sort of thing. But yeah, so it's going to be 20 years since he passed. I'm sure they've got a lot planned for that. Now that Austin Dillon's running the number 3 over there, I know that I think he actually has won the Daytona 500 as the number 3. So I'm sure, Dale would love to see his car get up there on the week when it does happen. No Bathurst 12-hour this year. I am gutted. I love seeing the GT cars come here. I was absolutely pumped when Bentley won it last year. Mainly because you look at a Bentley Continental, you look at that big, fat, luxury car. You don't sit there and think that'll make a good race car, but it did. It's beating like Audi R8s, Ferrari 488s, Porsche 911 GT3s, all that sort of thing. I always like things like that, taking the unconventional and making it work. So I'm gutted that they're not coming back this year. The V8 supercars are apparently having their first round at Bathurst this year, so that's coming up. Not as excited as I have been the last few years, mainly because I was a big fan of Scott McLaughlin and Penske. Now that they've left the sport, I've waned a little bit. I've lost interest more and more with the V8s over the years. They were the only thing sort of keeping me in the loop. I'll still watch it. I'm a big Mustang supporter. I would love to see the FPR guys get up there. I know Cam Waters was having a roaring end to the season and got a solo win and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah. So that was good. But, the motor racing season's starting soon, so get back into some more car stuff. In the meantime, I'm basically just going to keep on tanking, having some fun with that. And, tomorrow's my last day off before I go back to work, so I'm just going to take it easy. Go for a drive, just do some virtual cruising as well. Just try and get back in the groove, get back in the swing of things. Make sure that I'm not on autopilot come Monday morning. Just make sure we get our heads in the game, so to speak. So, so we'll try wrapping it up again. Once again, if you have stuck around, I really appreciate it. I know some of you have been absolutely loving these, funnily enough. I actually had a great picture today from one of my subs of him listening to it in the car while they were driving to a friend's place. And I was like, you know what? That's awesome. I jokingly call it a podcast, but here you are actually playing it like a podcast as you're just driving along to wherever you're going, and that's great. I'm glad that I've reached out and had that success, and I hope that we can keep doing that. I hope that we can continue to talk about things and touch base on stuff. And the fucking Cayenne is still driving up and down my street, dude. Sorry, back on track. But yeah, thank you all once again for tuning in. Didn't get quite as many views on the last one. I guess some people decided it wasn't their thing, which is understandable. It's just I know that there's a lot of people out there that outside of YouTube, there's a lot of people out there that worry about me, that want to know how I'm going, and I figured, this will just be an easier way to keep track of things, because Facebook doesn't always keep you updated. It rearranges everything. It's never the most recent shit that comes through. It's always featured stuff or whatever. So I figured, if I have a regular update, people can just have it in the background while they're doing something and just, see how things are going. I know I've got a lot of family scattered around the world as well. So, cheerio to them. G'day, mate. Guten Tag. Whatever the hell hello is in Polish. I definitely have to start learning Polish. I'm so proud of my background there, but I can't speak a word of Polish. Except Wojtek. Wojtek is the only word in Polish that I know. And even then, I don't know the exact translation. It equates to like happy warrior or something like that. Or warrior. Which is a tattoo I'm going to get, but we'll come to that bridge another time. So next week, not too sure what we're going to chat about there. If you have any ideas, drop a comment below. If there's anything you want me to talk about, if there's anything historically based that you want me to do a video on or talk about, I'm more than happy to do that. These things keep getting longer and longer, so you know, hopefully next week I'm in a better frame of mind, and I'm less scrambled, and we can sort of shorten things down a little bit, make it more quality over quantity. So take care, everyone. Always thinking of each and every one of you. If you do like to keep track of this, be sure to drop a like. You know, I hate those people that are always, oh, be sure to like and subscribe and click the bell notification so you don't miss a single video. Because, you know, why on earth would you want to miss some, you know, fat Australian dude in his 30s ramble about shit? Also, shout out to Reddit for breaking the fucking stock market this week. What the hell was up with that? Like, good job. You know, tax the rich and all. Nah, but seriously, as always, a nice, simple, humble goodbye. Stay safe, take care. We all care about you, and we all want to see you succeed. And wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope that this brought you some entertainment. So take care, look after one another, love yourselves before you love anyone else, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace!